What's going on? Welcome back. In today's video, we are going to step to network services. This room is also part of CompTIA Pentest Plus. Just to give you an idea of where we are right now. So basically, we have finished application-based vulnerabilities, pen testing tools. We've talked about Burp Suite, Metasploit, also Nmap, but it is not finished yet. I haven't answered the questions, but we've talked about this in these videos. Now, network-based vulnerabilities. In the last video, we gave an introduction about networking. Now, in this video, we're going to go over network services, part 1 and 2. And Kinobi is a virtual machine or a room that we have solved before. So basically, once we finish these two rooms, in addition, I'm going to provide an introduction to Active Directory basics. We're going to solve this room as well. And we will be finishing with CompTIA Pentest Plus. Okay, so for network services, as you can see here, I am going to break down the room into multiple videos. So in one video, which is the one I'm doing right now, I'm going to go over from task 1 all the way till task 4, talking about SMB. Then we do separate video for Telnet, separate video for FTP, and that's it. Okay, so in this video, we're going to go over SMB, understanding SMB, enumerating and exploiting the SMB. For that, basically, you need to deploy the machine attached to the room and to get started. So basically here, in a nutshell, we have the questions and the answers. And of course, in all of you know SMB, server message block for sharing files, printers between computers, server and client. And basically, it is SMB for Windows and Samba for Linux. So here goes the answers. What does SMB stand for? Server message block, the abbreviation for that. The type of protocol is response request. Why it is a response request? Because the client, as you can see, requests info from the server, requests to get access to a specific file, requests to get access to a specific printer. And the server, as you can see, sends back a response with access granted or denied. That's why it's called response request. What do clients connect to servers using? Of course, TCP/IP, since SMB is a protocol which is part of TCP/IP. We talked about this in the previous videos. What systems does Samba run on? So basically, Samba runs on Linux. Samba is same as SMB, but it's different because it's called Samba because it's running on Unix. So for Linux, it is Samba. For Windows, it is SMB. Okay. Now we come to the enumeration and exploitation. So basically, we're going to enumerate SMB, discover the tools to enumerate SMB, and then we're going to see how we can exploit SMB. Now, since we are saying SMB, right, the target machine is Linux. Okay, so basic Nmap scan reveals the following. We have 139.445, which means we are dealing with Samba server. That means that we have SMB open, but in Linux we call it Samba. So Samba now is running on the server, meaning that we have files, we have printers that are shared on the system, which means the first step in attacking this box is finding out more about these shares, how we can get access to them. So as you can see, Samba runs on port 139.445. And to start enumerating the server, Samba server, we use a tool called Enum for Linux. And most of you guys who do Hack the Box and solve boxes in Hack the Box, Vulnerable Hub, even TryHackMe, know how to enumerate SMB. But since this is part of CompTIA Pentest Plus, we have to break this down for people who are just getting started. So I want to enumerate SMB now, Samba. So what I would use sudo enum for Linux, which is tool for enumerating SMB on Windows or Samba on Linux, doesn't matter. So there are a couple of switches we can use with enum for Linux. For example, let's say, for example, we have -u. We were saying that to get the users list, right? So let's say I want to get the users list on the users that are sharing the files on the Samba server. So we type -u and then type the IP address of the target. Let's start with this. So here we should get the user list. As you can see, users on. And we haven't found any. But here you can see we have known usernames, administrator, guest. It doesn't mean they exist. It just means that there are known usernames used when sharing files. But none of the usernames have been found in this scenario. So instead of -u, we can also use other switches to enumerate for enumeration. For example, we can use -s to get the shares or a list of the shares on the file system or on the Cyber server. We can hit enter. As you can see here, we can see we have the following shares: net, log on, profiles, print, IPC. The one that stands out for me is profiles, since all the time when we list the shares on the system, we see IPC, we see print, net, log on, but profiles not all the time. So it means that the shared directory on the system or on the Cyber server is profiles. So instead of just going about enumerating bit by bit, we can just type -a to enumerate everything on the Samba server: users, groups, shares, and we hit enter. All right, so we start going through the results. So we see here, looking up status, here we see work group, Polo SMP. So the work group name is work group, as you can see. Domain name work group, domain SID, no info about this. Here we can see the info about the operating system, which is Ubuntu Polo SMB server, the version 6.1. And here we see the list of shares. Found domain, Polo SMB, bulletin, password info for domain. Okay. And it's still enumerating, by the way, but most of the time you won't need more than the list of shares. Okay. The operating system running, the domain, whether it is a work group or a domain joint machine, and of course, if anonymous access is possible or not. So, with that in mind, we can just start answering the questions. So here, conduct an Nmap scan of your choosing. How many ports are open? Let's get back and see the Nmap scan results. So for the Nmap scan, we have 1, 2, 3. So we have 3 ports open. What ports is SMB running on? So basically, if we get back, we can see we have 139, 145, the typical ports Samba server runs on. So we have here 139, 445. Let's get started with Enum for Linux. Conduct a full basic enumeration. For startup, what is the work group name? We said that it is work group, the same. What comes up as the name of the machine? So if we get back here, we see the name of the machine. All right. Scroll more. So this is the name of the machine, Polo SMB. What operating system version is running? So if we get back, we can see the version is 6.1. What share sticks out as something we might want to investigate? So basically here the shares, we got the list of shares, and the one that stands out is the profiles. Okay, so now we have done the enumeration for the SMB. Now we will go over the exploitation phase and answer the questions here. Let's get back. Okay, so now I know that I have Samba server running. I know the list of shares. I know the computer name, the worker group name, and of course I know what operating system is running on the box. So the next step for me is to connect to these shares. I want to know if I can connect to these shares and see the content of the file system. So if I want to connect to the shares, I would use a tool called SMBClient. And the syntax for this, if we are talking about Linux, we would use // and we type the IP address of the machine. In this case, it is this one. And here, I type the share name if I want to get access to a share. If I want just to list the shares, I would just type -L and enter. So here it's asking for the worker group root's password. We don't have password. We're going to just hit enter, see if it's going to work. Okay, so with SMBClient, we were able to get some of the results we have got with Enum for Linux, which is listing the shares. Now, that's good if I don't want to use Enum for Linux, but if I want to connect with these shares, I want to remove the -L, and here specifying the share I want to connect to. For example, I'm going to connect to profiles. All right. So, and I click and I hit enter. I don't have a password, but I was able to connect, which means the profiles shared, right, allows for anonymous access. So if I type ls, I see the content of that directory, right? Let's get back for a bit and see more. For example, here, what if the profile share allows or asks for a username? I would say, for example, -u. Let's see the username required in this challenge. So here it is asking somewhere anonymous. So here it's saying what would be the correct syntax to access an SMB share called secret as user suite on a machine with the IP on the default port. So we would go back here and change the IP to the one pointed out in the challenge, 310s2, and the name of the share is secret, and the username is suite. Okay, and the default port is -P445. That's a syntax. Let's try. I guess it is not like that. Secret. My caps lock is still on, which is not something I wanted. I guess I'm not going to be able to connect since this is an IP out of the current subnet, but this is a syntax. Let's try to answer with this question, with this answer. And it's correct. Okay, let's get back a bit for where we were. We were at here. So to specify username, we just type -u and the username. Okay, capital U. Now let's get back and connect to the share. So I'm going to hit enter. Now we are connected. We type ls to list the files on this share. We have cache, profile, sudo as admin successful, /ssh. So we have this one. And this one sticks out but as well. So we type cd.ssh ls, and we have a private key. Now, if you see something that you want to grab out of the Samba server, you would want to type get id RSA. It will just download this to your current machine or local machine. Now the ID RSA has been downloaded to your local machine. You will just type exit ls and you have the ID RSA here. Now, before trying and connect to the host, you would want to run chmod, adjust the permissions of the key, ID RSA. Okay, then you would want to connect sudo sh-i ID RSA, and the username. Let's see what is the username. The username. Now we want to find out what is the username we want to connect with. All right, so here, as you can see, what service has been configured to allow him. Okay, there is some guy here or some name we want to find out. So let's get back to the. Let's connect back and see what is the username. So we have something here, working from home information. So if we cat this, or let's get it, or I think let's get device or local machine would be better. Not found. Okay, get. Let's put code, double quotes. Okay, now we would disconnect cat working from home. So John Cactus, as you are well aware, due to the current pandemic, most of Polo Incorporation has insisted that wherever possible, employees should work from home. As such, your account has now been enabled with SSH access to the main server. If there are any problems, please contact the IT department at itpolointernal.com.uk. Regards, James. So basically, the one who's supposed to connect with SSH server and use the private key we have just downloaded is John Cactus. Now, figuring out the username has become easier. We would try Cactus or John. So sudo sh-i IDRSA John at. Let's see if this works. Yes, it didn't work. Now we would try with Cactus. Okay, and now we have been granted access. So the correct username is Cactus, and this is how you exploit SMB. Okay, just enumerate any for Linux, connect to the shares, see if there is data lurking around and is valuable for your exploitation, and you will have access. And actually, I can call it exploitation. We haven't exploited a vulnerability, rather than we have just connected to an anonymous, to a share that allows anonymous access. So it's security misconfiguration, not actually an exploitation. Okay, let's get back now and answer the questions. So, does the share allow anonymous access? Yes. Great, have a look around for any interesting documents that could contain valuable info. Who can we assume this profile folder belongs to? Actually, it is the name of the person. Okay. What service has been configured to allow him to work from home? SSH. Okay, now we know this. What directory on the share should we look in? Of course, .ssh. It is where we found the private key. This directory contains authentication keys that allow a user to authenticate themselves on and then access a server. Which of these keys is most useful to us? Of course, it is the private key. Download this file to your local machine and change the permissions to 600. Now use now the flag cat SMB, and this is the flag. SMB is fun. No, copy. Okay, and that was still missing. We have something missing. Okay, click on that, and yes, that was for SMB. Now, the next video we're going to talk about, we're going to do the tasks for exploiting, enumerating, and understanding telnets. Task 5 all the way till task 7. All right, thank you for watching.